What's going on, Browns fans? Welcome into the Cleveland Browns Report by Chat Sports. It is Sunday. The NFL draft is in the books, which means we're going to talk about undrafted free agent signings. Now, before you click out of the video because you're like, who the hell gives a shit about undrafted free agent signings? There's some really interesting stories about some of these guys that were signed that I'm excited to share with you. And just remember, before we get to the regular season, we've got to go through preseason. And you don't want to be the guy in the muni lot for week one of the preseason who has no idea who's going to be playing in that game. So get ahead of the curve right now. Get to know some of the big names you can expect to see, well, big-ish names, during preseason. All right, let's look at the undrafted free agents. Felix Harper, quarterback out of Alcorn State. Isaiah Weston, a wide receiver from Northern Iowa. Travell Harris, a wide receiver from Washington State? Yep. Mike Harley, a wide receiver out of Miami. Then we got Zaire Mitchell-Paden, tight end, Florida Atlantic. We're going to break all these guys down in a little more detail. Brock Hoffman, very interesting story on him we'll tell you about. Center from Virginia Tech. Ben Patrula, tackle, Boston College. Boston. Ooh, yeah. Roderick Perry II out of Illinois. And then we've got Glen Logan. That's a good pickup in my opinion from LSU, a defensive lineman. Silas Kelly, linebacker who went to Coastal Carolina. DeAnthony Bell, safety corner mix from West Florida. And finally, it is Julius Faulk Jr., a.k.a. Junior, corner from Delta State. So, I know those are all household names. We're all excited to see these guys. But who's your favorite one? If you maybe watch some of these guys in college, I don't know, maybe you were an LSU fan or an Alcorn State fan, and you're pumped to see the carryover from your Saturday team to your Sunday team, drop that name down below. Let me know who your favorite signing was, if you've got one. If not, no worries. Okay, let's get into the first one. Actually, Marsh, I don't think we need the L3 here because it tells us the name. But first guy up here is the quarterback from Alcorn State, Felix Harper. Here's what I got on him. He played 6 seasons at Alcorn State. Common thread for all these guys, by the way, was that they took advantage of the extra COVID year, and they're a little older, like 24, 25. You don't get that very often. He's also left-handed. That's kind of cool. You don't get lefties very often. All right, moving on. Isaiah Weston, wide receiver, Northern Iowa, 4-year starter. So that's actually pretty interesting. Usually, coming freshman year, you sit for a little bit. Not this guy. Overall, the notes I've got for Weston, a bit of a narrow skill set, which is going to limit him. However, he's got the perfect Bermuda Triangle of height, weight, and speed to maybe stretch the field and contribute on special teams. Another interesting note, he finished top 3 among all wide receivers at the NFL Combine in 3 different athletic tests. He also led FCS with yards per reception. Next up, we've got Travell Harris, the wide receiver from Washington State. 814 yards last season, 9 touchdowns. What I've got for him was in his career, 179 receptions for 1,999 yards. They couldn't give him like an extra wide receiver screen to get 2K, and 17 receiving touchdowns in 43 games at Washington State. Awesome special teams ability. People love what he can maybe add to your return coverage. So, again, I know these guys have an uphill battle to make the roster or even make it through halfway of training camp, but that's what we're going to do in the offseason. We're going to talk about undrafted free agents, because who else is talking about UDFAs? I'm very curious if you can find another Browns YouTube outlet that's breaking down these players, that's talking football, because NFL has no offseason. That's what I love so much about it. So subscribe. Thank you to everyone who helped us reach 8,000 subs. That is so awesome. Really happy to reach that milestone. I want to get to 10K before week 1. That's my little life goal. So help me do that. Hit that big red button and subscribe. Mike Harley is next up. We got a run of wide receivers here out of Miami. 543 yards and 5 touchdowns. Here are the notes I've got on him. Speedy, twitchy, 5'11", 180-pound slot receiver for Miami, who wasn't really mentioned much, but he's got a lot of great intangibles. He actually finished his career at Miami as the record holder for career receptions with 182 and single game catches with 13. So he's in some history books down there in South Florida. He also, interesting note here, earned his degree and is the father of an 11-week-old child, Michael Anthony Harley III. So shout out to him for having the ability to balance raising a child and playing football all at once. Zaire Mitchell-Paden, tight end from Florida Atlantic. He's a transfer, 6'5", mega athlete is what they call him, out of originally from Maryland. Spent his early goings playing D2 and then transferred from Notre Dame College up into FAU, and now he's off to Cleveland. This next player is a very interesting story. It's Brock Hoffman, center out of Virginia Tech. Didn't get any Power 5 offers coming out of high school. So he goes to Coastal Carolina, where he earns a starting job as a true freshman. Was there for 2 years, then enters the transfer portal. You may remember this story I'm about to tell you, okay? Very sad news. Brock's mother, Stephanie, was diagnosed with a non-cancerous brain tumor in early 2017, so they had to have surgery to remove it. So what does Brock do? He transfers to Virginia Tech to be closer to home, right? So his family can come see him play. And then the NCAA is the NCAA. It sucks. I hate the NCAA because they did not allow him to waive their policy of forcing him to sit out a year, and they did not give him immediate eligibility, so he couldn't play in front of his parents his first year going back to Virginia Tech because the NCAA sucks. Who do you want the Browns to sign? I think the popular name out there is Justin Ross, right? This was a player who was in a wide receiver room with Amari Rodgers and, what's the guy, the slot guy for Hunter Renfrow, and he was the best of them back for Clemson a couple of years ago when they had Trevor Lawrence. Then he gets injury, he's got a spinal injury, and ultimately he goes undrafted. Would be a pretty cool story if he can be undrafted free agent all the way to a starting wide receiver in the NFL. Next guy up to bat is the offensive guard out of Boston College, Ben Patrula. What do I got on good old Ben here? Starting right tackle, not guard, excuse me. Starting tackle for Boston College the last 2 seasons. Hey, you want to find someone who's got some experience in the undrafted free agent pool? That's your guy. Roderick Perry II, defensive tackle from Illinois. 14 starts over his last 2 seasons for the Fighting Illini down there in Urbana-Champaign. PFF named him an all Big Ten honorable mention this past season. Not the athleticism you'd like to see, and that's why a lot of these guys are undrafted, unfortunately. So, need some fine-tuning, but that's what I've got on him. If you're looking for a spot to also get Browns news and rumors outside of YouTube, Rumble is an up-and-coming video platform service. We are growing over there just like we are right here on YouTube. So follow us at Rumble, going to rumble.com/Browns Report. Links in the comments and in the description. You can't miss it, so I'll put that down there. I'll see you guys over on Rumble as well here on YouTube. Glen Logan was a player who got a decent amount of cash guaranteed, which means he was a hot commodity, but the Cleveland Browns wanted to make sure they at least got their hands on him first. 4-year starter for the Tigers, 6 years altogether at LSU. Only one sack in 6 games last season due to injuries, but you got tons of experience here, so you're hoping that he just needs to come into camp in shape, ready to go, and maybe make a name for himself. Because the good news for Logan is I don't want to say that he's got an inside track to make the roster. But if there's one position where Cleveland's a little thin at, it's defensive tackle. What about Kelly, the linebacker from Coastal Carolina? What's my notes on him? 2021 All-Sun Belt first team, 8.5 tackles for loss, 2.5 sacks for, I always want the chandeliers, I always say it wrong. The Chantilliers, I always want to say chandelier. I always want to, the Fighting Chickens, that's what my producer's whispering in my ear. I love their colors. If you can get a Coastal Carolina guy on your team, it just seems like he's going to be a fun locker room dude. All right, they know how to party down there at Coastal Carolina. Let's play a game, though. Predict the Browns' 2022 record for me. We're going to go 17-0. It's difficult to say without knowing what Deshaun Watson's situation will be, but it's almost like it's trending in a good direction for him to play and not be suspended. Let me know what your predictions are down below. DeAnthony Bell is the next guy up, the safety corner mix from West Florida. Started his collegiate career off in junior college, and then he transfers to West Florida. He had 2 interceptions last season. He's got great size. I think he's even a little bigger than 6 foot where he measured in. So he's a lengthy corner that can get his arms around you. And finally, it is Julius Faulk Jr., a.k.a. Junior Faulk, the corner from Delta State. Here's a really interesting note on him. Back in 2019, he had 9 interceptions. 9 interceptions. It's like Ferris Bueller's Day Off. 9 times he picks someone off? Yeah. So if he can somehow take the ball skills from 2019 and apply it to his everyday game, could be an interesting signing right there. So grade the Browns 2022 undrafted free agent class for me. Give it an A. Please don't, give it a C, D, or F. Listen, these guys work so hard, and it's very disappointing when they don't get drafted, I've got to imagine. So for them to get an opportunity to prove themselves in rookie minicamp and try and work their way onto the roster, don't stop them, right? Be supportive here. Let's give them an A. I'm guessing a lot of these guys are name searching themselves right now. They want to see who's talking about them because they never get much of a spotlight. So let's give them a bit of a spotlight right now by giving them an A down below. All right, guys, that's going to do it for us on today's show. Hope you enjoyed all the draft coverage. We're not going to stop, so if you subscribed and you want more videos, you've come to the right place. I'll catch up with you later, though, with more Browns news and rumors.